Hello guys, and welcome to another League of Legends guide by Salwyn Gaming. I am Salwyn himself. Go figure. And today we're looking at Yorick. Yorick is one of those top champions that I really like to play, and with the recent, I guess, implication or introduction of Jayce for the top lane and other lanes as well, he has become a very valuable pick because he is a pretty strong counter to Jayce. So if you're looking to play those ranked games, or just looking to play games in draft pick mode in general, whenever you see that Jayce, be sure that you lock down that Yorick if you have the opportunity to pick him as a counter pick, because this is how you want to play it. Now, I haven't done a guide recently, and there are a few reasons for this. Mostly it's because I haven't really had any games that I felt were, oh my god, I want to do a guide of this game. Because like I have a game where I think it's 14-0 in Nivea, but it's not because I played exceptionally well. It's just because there are some circumstances in that game that make it so that I just get ahead and get strong. But this game I felt was a really strong game, and it shows why I do the things I do and what you can do to play strong. Now you see me starting W here. Normally I would start E because it gives a lot of early game lane sustain, and it gives you a little bit of harass as well. But as they pop out here, so look at me, I want that W for two reasons. One of the reasons is I can throw it over the wall to scout if there's an invade coming, and the second reason is if there is an invade coming, I can slow them and not have to burn my flash to get away. So that is very good for you to know in case your team wants to invade or you're defending against an invade. Starting with W will really help you in that situation. Now when you get to lane though, you want to remember that you picked W if you did, because it does mean that you cannot play quite as offensively. You don't have the same early sustain and aggression as you would have with the W. Now I showed you my runes. Hopefully, I took a few screenshots of my runes and masteries, because normally I would explain to you what I picked, but I showed you them now, previous to the game, hopefully. And the reason why I picked these runes and masteries is because AD scales really well with Yorick. His E scaling isn't that high, but his Q scaling is really amazing, gives you a lot of damage. And of course the defensive part of the runes and the masteries are just to last against Jayce, because Jayce, even though you are a counter pick, he still does a huge amount of damage with that percentage wise damage and the magic damage that he does as well. So that is really good to have those defensive masteries and some defensive runes as well mixed in. So that's really valuable. Now you see here, actually we got a bit low FPS, but it doesn't really matter that much, gotta tell you. So you're just gonna have to live with it, because it's not really gonna take away from what I'm telling you, and that is kind of the important thing, seeing it as it is a guide and all. Anyway, in lane I max E first. E gives you a massive amount of sustain, and it gives you good harass as well. Now you may have heard me say this before, but I'm gonna say it again. As always, CS wins lanes, positioning wins games. That goes for AD carries very much, but also goes for top lane, and you're gonna see this in this game, how because I'm a counter pick, I have the opportunity to control my lane as soon as I get just a little bit strong, and that is going to make it so that, well, I win the lane, and therefore we do a lot better in the team fights later in the game. But anyway, let's see him to start. Now, you know Jayce. Jayce is one of those champions that I really like, just like Yorick, because he's one of those champions that you can abuse. When you get ahead or you know the matchup, you can really put a lot of pressure on your opponent and really take control of the lane. And I like to play those kind of champions, because knowing an advantage and taking advantage of said advantage is really going to help you improve your gameplay, and it's going to help your team a lot. Whenever you play, if you get ahead, get further ahead, and that way you're going to help carry your team in the team fight phase. So if you have any champions that you really like, that you know how to play well, just play it even more, perfect it, know how to get really strong. Now we see here Nautilus coming up. I'm quite low on mana because I do start boots 3 pots. But I just go up here, try to get him in. Now you see all these minions are going to be attacking him the second he jumps on me. And I just put down my W to get the slow on him so he can't get away from Nautilus. And we do manage to pick up the kill. The kill goes to Nautilus. But for me that's really okay. I don't really need the kill in this lane. Because, well, I am as a counter to Jayce. So if he gets the kill, that means his ganks are going to be X amount stronger. And since I don't really need it, I'm perfectly happy with him getting ahead and me just staying ahead, as it were. And as we can see here, Jayce losing an incredible amount of CS to the turret. Now this is one of the things you want to remember. Whenever you base or gank or whatever, do it in at a time where it's going to hurt your opponent the most. Whenever you think about basing, try to push to turret. If you can push to turret, not only does he lose gold from the CS, he also loses experience. And getting ahead in levels is really, really valuable. Now you see him coming down here, looking to go towards to help his buddies in this fight here, but I wanted to shut that off to try to help her get away, but sadly that's not going to happen because she died in a 1v2 in their jungle for some reason. But anyway, I just bang up to tower here. He overcommits a lot. You don't want to trade with Yorick ever in any situation. And if sadly you cannot see the team chat in this case, but I let my jungler know that he warded the tri-push at this point, because if my jungler wasn't paying attention, now I know he was coming top, but if he wasn't paying attention to that, then it is very important for me to tell him that it's warded so he doesn't waste time coming up here. Because if he runs up here and my lane spots him, then he's gonna waste time. That's experience he loses in jungle, that's gold he loses in jungle, and that's time taken away from him ganking other lanes. So you want to keep your jungler informed of when he can gank, if it is warded and where, and if he needs to hold the lane. Because if you base and you lose experience or creeps to the turret, that is experience taken out of the game that your team could have had. Because the jungle creeps, although they do give a good amount of experience, don't give as much as for example, it does to sit in the lane. And that is pretty obvious, seeing the jungler levels as opposed to the solo lane levels. So you want to let your jungler know as much as possible when to gank, where to gank, and if to hold lanes and such. So that is one of the things you want to pay attention to whenever you play your lane. Now you can see here Jayce playing very defensively, and that's because I'm just standing in his minions. I just want to shut him down. I can't really kill him at this point in time. Well, I could if he really, really overcommitted. But it's still a pretty even trade if we start to fight. So I just want to keep putting those goals on him, like the WE combo. And if he then comes towards me, I'll put a Q in with that as well. As you can see, I have taken 1 point in Q because the scaling makes Q a really, really strong tool. If you're against a melee laner, like Riven for example, you want to look to max Q first, because she's going to come in and you get the chance to hit her with the Q, do massive amounts of damage, and get that movement speed increase that helps you stick onto her. However, when you're against a ranged laner, you want to max that W. It gives you the slow, so that you can close the gap and get the damage on them that way. So Yorick is one of those champions where you really want to build your levels or your abilities towards the level the champion you're against in that lane. But in this case we max E because that's what we always do. You always max E, and then I scale both Q and W, because Jayce, in order to put real damage on me, needs to go into that melee hammer form and jump on me, and in that situation I'm going to be able to hit him with Q. And also later in the team fights it's going to help me deal damage to people. So I don't really need to max my slow in this game, because I'm not really going to be able to chase him down. If I do, he's going to knock me back, as you see there. And that way, it's not going to be optimal, but it's going to be good enough. So you want to look to max whatever is the strongest in the lane after E. E will always be the first to max in any lane. Unless you're in a lane where you want to blow up stuff with your magic damage on the W. Like, I don't know. I don't know any lanes where you want to do that. But yeah, you see my point here. Anyway, the second time I went back was right after we got the kill. I picked up the tier because you want to start stacking it early. Now you can see here I'm almost out of mana. I just want to keep spamming in the early game stages. I want to keep spamming to get as many stacks as possible, because the more mana I come into lane with, the more harass I have. Mana is the main harass tool for Yorick, because his goals are his damage output, as well as his auto attack damage output, because his attack damage is increased for X amount of goals he has in play, as you can see by his passive here. For each active summon, Yorick takes 5% reduced damage, and his basic attacks deal 5% more damage. So you can see there, the more goals you're able to keep in a fight, the more damage you're going to do, and the less damage you're going to take. So getting that early tier is going to help you immensely in any lane, and especially in the later game team fights, where you can just keep those goals up at all times and just do max amounts of damage and take the minimal amounts of damage. Anyway, here we see Jayce starting to leave the lane here. And I call this to my jungler. He walks through his own ward. It's not my ward. If you noticed that and didn't really pay attention too much, that is his own ward. Now I see here my jungler pings it because Nunu is at our red buff, and I immediately, as soon as possible, I want to come assist him here. We see Katarina coming in here as well to help out. So I just want to shut down whoever I can. I want to slow them down to help my team pick up on it, because I don't have a lot of mana at this point in time. And Katarina luckily comes in to pick up that kill, because I can't on my own pick up the kill without having my mana. Now here we find what's his face, Victor, going on to Nuna here. So we pick up a 2 for 1, and they get our red buff. Now overall that's positive for us, because I can now go up, push this to the turret, or in fact it's going to push itself to the turret, and that way Jayce is going to lose even more experience and CS to the turret. So all in all, for us this was a perfect trade. Now I don't remember, whoops, I don't remember, did I pick up a kill here? Yeah, I picked up a kill on Victor, I think it was. I don't really need kills as much as Katarina, but that's just how it turned out. So yeah, what can you do anyway? And that means that I get to pick up that phage. Now I think the first or second big item you want on Yorick is a Triforce. Yorick scales extremely well with Triforce because he gains from every single stat on that item. His W has magic scaling, mana helps him overall, the movement speed helps him, the attack damage helps him, the slow helps him. So everything about Triforce is great for him. If you're in a lane where you have the opportunity to build it, just build it. Now as you can see here, Jayce has the most minions. That means his lane is going to push to my turret. And at this point in the game, I'm ahead now. I'm way ahead, and I am the strongest of us in lane in general. So being ahead and being even further ahead on kills and CS at this point in the game means that I can now zone him. And zoning is, if you don't know, is keeping the opponent out of experience range and out of gold range. That means they cannot get CS and they cannot keep up with you in levels. So let's just keep an eye on that at the moment. As we see, he is 49 CS to my 97, so already now, because of the roaming he's done going into the invade and trying to go down and assist and losing CS to turret, I'm already way ahead. I'm a level ahead, and actually at this point I'm 2 levels ahead since I just leveled. And that is the position you want to be in. That is why I love these kind of top laners like Jayce and Yorick, because this is what you can do. You can abuse this advantage. Whenever you get it, you can abuse it really hard. Now you see here, whenever he comes up to get that XP or that CS, I'm going to shut it down. I'm simply going to go up, hit him twice, hit him 3 times. If he tries to fight for it, I'm gonna keep attacking him. What this does, especially with Jayce, is he's gonna try to CS with the Q, and through him CSing with the Q, it means he's gonna keep the lane pushed. I'm gonna keep being able to do this to him, to keep zoning him out of experience and CS, except for what he gets through Q. So this is just gonna mean I'm gonna snowball even further ahead because I keep having this immense power over him. So as we see this play out, you're gonna notice that whenever he comes close enough for him to get experience, as you can see his experience bar, if you scroll back a little bit, since I've taken him target, he almost hasn't gained any experience. and he's only gained 4 CS through that Q. So I don't want to go fight anything at any place right now. I just want to sit here, freeze the lane, and keep him zoned. Look, he's at this point he's coming down here towards wolves to try to pick up some XP, going into mid lane to pick up some XP, or maybe even try to get a kill off a fight somewhere. The thing you want to remember is the big minions give like 24 gold. I don't remember the accurate. Well, we can actually see it when I see it's that big one. But you want to keep in mind that a kill, if it is a good kill on a target that has a kill and 0 deaths since then, it's gonna give 300 gold. Now, caster minions give 18, and big minions, well, melee minions, I think they give 24 or something. We'll see in a second here. What you want to keep in mind is, well, let's see it here. Alright, 25 at this point. So let's just round it out to make it easier. On average, it gives 23 gold for each minion. So if you have 10 CS, that's 230 gold. Now that means that, well, 13, 15 CS is equal to a kill in gold-wise. Plus you gain more experience unless he kills way higher level targets. So the gold advantage I have at this point being 137 to 58 CS is immense. So I don't even give a shit. Like, my team at this point or a little later in the game are gonna start complaining about me sitting top. And what I tell them, and what you should tell your team, is that at this point, even if Jayce is roaming, if he gets into other lanes and starts taking CS, that means he's gonna give that lane a disadvantage against our lane. They might kill turrets and whatnot, but you're still gonna get way further ahead than that lane is, because you're gonna get full XP and you're gonna get full money if your mechanics are okay. And of course CS means creep score, which is the gold and stat you get for last hitting minions, getting the last hit on the minion. Most of you will know this, of course, but some of you might not, so I'd rather just clear that up. Now you see me back to base here and pick up the Spirit Visage, or Spirit Visage, whatever you want to call it, and the Mercury Treads. The reason I get Mercury Treads in this game is because they have a lot of CC, they have Sona Stun, they have what's his face, Victor Stun, they have Nunu Slow, they have Victor Silence, and all of this is reduced by this, as far as I'm aware, by Tenacity. So having these 2 items is going to help me in team fights, both with healing and with reduced damage taken through the defensive stats on these items. And it's going to help me in lane keep even more pressure on this this Jayce. So now you see him, he's back in lane here, and again he is forced to CS with the Q. Now it's starting to damage because he's probably maxing Q first, yes. He's maxing Q first in this lane because he doesn't have the opportunity to trade with me. Now, would I be another lane, he would probably max E first because it does high burst damage and it scales off of percentage max health. But in this case he's gonna max Q because he cannot get up close and CS or trade really well with me. So he's gonna max Q, and that means his lane is gonna be pushing at all times, regardless of whatever I do, as long as I don't spam my spells to push out the lane. This however does mean that my T is not going to be stacked quite as fast as it would if I was pushing lane constantly using spells, as you see me do here, because I do have the tier, so I do want to burn up some of those spells to get some of that some of those stacks. Now he's roaming mid here, and I ping him back. I ping him back a little later. I wasn't aware that he had left that early, and I didn't have a ward on to show my team. So that is a fault on my part. You want to always keep your lane warded, because that means that your team's gonna have X much more information, and you're gonna have that much more information. But since I was just freezing my lane to the best of my abilities, I didn't have that ward down, because at that point I didn't see it as a necessity. But anyway, I see him going mid, and that means, alright, I need to take an advantage here, so I'm just going to push this turret really fast. I'm going to just stick on it until it's dead, because that gives us a global gold advantage. Normally I wouldn't do this. On a lot of champions you want to be able to constantly just push to the other person's lane and go gank. That's very common for mid lane, for example. You just push out, you go gank either top or bottom. Or if you play a Kali top, you push out and then you go gank mid lane, for example. So in some cases you don't want to kill the turret, but in this case I simply just want to put pressure on this Jayce. And I know for a fact that push comes to shove, he is going to push my lane back and I can freeze it again. So I don't really mind at this point. Now let's see, I'm 178 minions to 68. This comes from two things. One, I zone him so he's not able to pick up as much CS as he normally would, because he can only use that Q really to pick up CS, otherwise I harass him or even kill him out of lane. What the second thing this does is it means he's gonna get frustrated and go look to gank my other lanes. Now this does put a lot of pressure on my other lanes, but what this means in general is that I'm gonna get further ahead. At this point I'm 3 levels ahead, 14 to 11. So soon I'll have my level 3 ultimate towards his only level 2. Now his ultimate does only give him defensive stats. I think maybe a little bit offensive stats as well, but in general levels of power. Like I'm gonna have higher scaling, not scaling, but higher base stats on my abilities than he has in comparison. He could have X, but he only has X, if you catch my drift. So again, as I told you, he is going to push back the lane, and I know this. So I'm at this point, I'm near the point where I want to start to fight. My team is quite far behind now. My bot lane is 2 and 7, 3 and 8 against their 11 and 3 Kennen. This doesn't really worry me though, because as I said, I am so far ahead of this top lane, and I'm informing my team of this at the moment. Like I push out top, I see he's going mid again, so I just come down here to look to make a play. If I can catch these two out with the help of Katarina, we're definitely gonna get a kill, because not only can I tank both, I can also deal a pretty substantial amount of damage since I just picked up the mana meter, which gives me scaling AD off of percentage mana. So I just come down here, try to slow them up, but sadly she didn't react to it in time. However, Leona does catch Kennen out here, and that means that we can almost definitely get a kill off of this. Now, Amumu does blow off a perfect ultimate there, but as you can see here, I am extremely tanky. I put down my ultimate on Katarina because she's the most squishy and she went in first in that fight. So I just want her to be able to survive. In case she gets dropped, she's still gonna pop back up as a ghost and be able to do continuous damage. And that way we're definitely guaranteed gonna win that team fight. Sadly, I could have used it here, but through the ultimate, it means that Katarina's ghost did damage. I mean, it does, what is it, 60% at this level? Let's see. Yeah, 60%. Her ghost does 60% damage of her fall. Now, it mostly auto-attacks. I think it only auto-attacks, but that's still extra damage that we get in the fight. So if we have a 3 versus 3, her ghost is gonna be, well, make us 3.5 versus 3. So that's gonna give us an advantage. Now, sadly here, she doesn't really play that well. She flashes out and doesn't even E to Swixay here, but whatever. I mean, shit happens. Okay, and look at this. Look at these minions here. Now, Kennen does a good amount of damage on me, but look at the minion damage on him. I mean, that is absolutely nuts, and you want to realize this whenever you're ganking or getting ganked. If you have the minion advantage, that's gonna help you a lot. And I do inform him that this was crazy, just random banter, really. But there's so many things in this game you can use to your advantage. For example, minions, or CS, or whatever it may be, like the dragon debuff in a team fight. If one of their carries is tanking the dragon, you can use this as an advantage because they deal half the damage they normally would. Same goes for Baron. He has an attack damage debuff he throws on people. Again, an advantage. So anything you can use to your advantage in the game, you want to try to do. Now we see Jayce here pushing up really hard. I Q on the minion to get that movement speed increase. You see I'm moving really fast. I get the slow on him with the W. And then I just look to go up and do some damage. Now sadly here I don't really have that much vision of who's around me. Now had I been paying proper attention to the minimap, I would have known that no one was around and I could have chased him all the way to get the kill. But since that is one of my weak spots, is I don't always pay enough attention to the minimap. So sometimes I miss out on things I should know, on information I should have, for example. So that is one of the things you also want to consider. Keeping an eye on the minimap, knowing where the jungler is. If jungler has just ganked bottom, he's not going to gank top, at least for 15 seconds. So all that knowledge is really, really valuable as well. So getting in a habit of looking at the minimap at often times in the game. Now, I've been standing on a ward here for a while. I'm just hoping for them to get baited by my team and then jump on them like crazy. Now, I see them here. I know for a fact they have a ward in that bush because of the way they all just sped up towards me. Now, you see Leona go down here. I'm not going to ulti her. Again, I'm going to ulti onto to Katarina. You saw her drop, but she comes back up and is able to do more damage even after she dies. Now let's see. I think we can jump. So I'm just gonna jump here. All right. So I'm gonna slow this down. Okay, I'm gonna speed it up, but now I'm gonna slow it down and jump again. I'm not so used to watching these replay thingamabobbers. So we're gonna jump back to there. Is that it? All right. This is a bit further behind. All right. We're gonna speed up. This is a bit unprofessional, but we're okay with this. All right. So pay attention here. The Ash Arrow comes out and lands on Nunu. And then the Leona ultimate comes down. Leona's going to jump in there and just die instantly. It doesn't really matter. I'm not going to try to ulti her. But as you can see here, Katarina comes in here. And here I ulti her. She drops. She pops back up. That means that all the damage that you spent on killing her in this fight is theoretically not counted. Because she's still in the fight. She does only do 75% at this point, but that is still an incredible amount of damage, and she manages to clean up like quite a few of them in that fight and get them really, really low, so that in the end we still come out ahead. And that is like one of the powers of the Yorick ult. When you put him up with people like Cassiopeia or even Katarina, people who do really high consistent damage, where for example Cassiopeia is one of those who do really, really high consistent damage, because that's just how she works. Or Cockmaw, for example. Putting Yorick in a team with champions like that is really, really a dangerous combo. It's almost like a Fiddle Cannon kind of thing, where at a certain point it's gonna hit just, you cannot beat this, because the damage is so high and it lasts for so long that you cannot escape it. You cannot survive and deal enough damage to take it down. It's kind of the same principle, where the Yorick ulti simply negates all the damage done to set champion. And if they choose not to focus the champion, that means the Ghost is going to get to do a lot of damage. 75% of their base stats, or whatever the fudge, in that team fight. So you no matter how you spin it, you're going to have an additional team member in any team fight where you use the ultimate. And that means it's a 6v5. And those of you who played, for example, a 4v5 or a 5v4 will know how much that one person actually matters in team fights. And that is one of the reasons why Yorick is so strong, is that he actually adds an additional member to your team. So that is one of the things to consider, like who is going to be the most valuable target to use this ultimate on? Who's going to be able to do the most damage? For example, not Leona. We don't really care if she dies, as long as she gets her ulti off. She's done her part, she can die right after that. But Katarina, for example, if you ulti her and she gets focused, that means she's just gonna pop up again, keep shunpoing around, picking up kills, doing damage, and let you win that team fight. Now my team here goes in, Leona goes in without me being present for this team fight. Now I try to come down here and help them out, but my team is completely out of position for that engage in general. And that means that I simply cannot do anything. I ulti myself because I was taking a massive amount of damage. And I managed to pick up a kill on Kennen here, and continue to just close out as much as I can in this team fight, picking up the kill on Sonar as well. But in team chat at this point, I was saying to my team that they should not engage without me, because, as I said, we are a 6v5 as soon as they wait for me to join the fight. So even if the enemy team is pushing this turret and I'm sitting top lane, that just means my team should pull back to this turret and wait for me to join the fight. Because honestly, the turret matters, but it doesn't matter as much as losing 4 people and the turret as well. So that's one of the things, and that goes for me as well. I don't want to fight here without Katarina, for example. I mean, at this point I could because I'm really big, but still, like, you don't want to do things that'll put you at a disadvantage, like fighting without people. And you don't want to blame people for farming up the lanes, because that is one of the main things about this game that gives you strength. For example, now I am 120, almost 130 CS ahead of my counterpart Jayce, and that means he has 0 items. I have my Spirit Visage, I have a Triforce, I have a Manamune, and I am so far ahead of this guy. Despite him having 9 assists and me having 7, I got 5 kills at this point, but still, I have 4 items, and he has 0. Actually, I have 3 items, he has 0, and that is the power of CS, more than anything. Even if he had 5 kills, just like I have, he would still only have 1 item, maybe 2 items, so my 3, so I would still be ahead. And that is why you want to learn. That is why one of the main mechanics of the game is CS. That is one of the things you want to learn with whatever champion you're playing as the first thing. Trying to get that 10 CS per minute would be optimal for any champion, and that is what you want to strive to do. That is what I strive to do no matter what champion I play. Less so with top lanes than bot and mid lanes, but always I try to pick up a maximum amount of CS at any point in time, because I know that if I get a hit on CS, I'm gonna have an advantage in lane. Now we see here, just fight here, no reason really for me to push my ultimate in this fight, because they engaged at a really bad angle. So I just ping my team back. We don't need to chase Ken at this point, we just want to do Baron. That is a lot of people see pushing as being better than doing Baron, but what you want to remember is Baron is not a constant thing. You can't do Baron whenever you please. You can only do Baron whenever he's off. You can always push. You can always take down the turrets and the inhibitor, and sometimes it's preferable. For example, if they didn't have this turret, they had this turret at half health, we could have pushed the turret, gotten the inhibitor, then based and done Baron while they were defending against the super creeps. But in this situation, we could have done that, but we wouldn't have been able to base and go back and get Baron, for example, or whatever, and they could have rushed it. So in this situation, it was better to take the Baron than base and then go push than it would have been to go push and then base and not get Baron, or maybe even lose Baron to a counter Baron. So you always want to look at, is Baron the best possibility, because in a lot of cases Baron is the best possibility, and people don't realize this and try to push against, for example, 2 people left behind the team fight and only get 1 turret, and then are left without a Baron and low health and have to base while the other team just spawns and goes and takes Baron. So you always want to remember to think, what is the easiest to take, and what will give the biggest gold yield, for example. Like 2 turrets, if you can take 2 turrets, it's the same gold yield as Baron, but you still don't get the buff. If you can take 2 turrets and inhibitor, it's better than taking Baron, if you can still go back and defend Baron against the counter Baron. Alright, there we go. Now, at this point I build Guardian Agent. Normally, when I play Yorick, I look to build Atmos, because the additional 80 you get off of your HP, after you already have 80 off of your mana, is amazing. You're going to do massive amounts of damage. But at this point, we have a Kennen with a 17 and 6 score. So I just want to soak damage. I want to get into the middle of this. I want to stand right there, for example. Take all the damage I can, just be blown up. I want to be blown up, come back in the fight, and do damage. I want to be able to take all the focus off my carries, like Katarina and whatnot. And at this point, I go back to push top lane. And as I told you before, what my team needs to do at this point is to go back. They don't need to fight it. The engage or attempt to disengage, whatever Leona was doing is a mistake. Whenever you're not grouped, you just back out. You stand at a safe position and wait. And my team was giving me flack for this all game, that I was kept going top and kept pushing it out. The thing is, if your lane if the minions in your lane get to your turret and die, that means you're doing something wrong. Always. You always want to keep your lane pushed, or at least even with the other lane. You never want the lane your lane to be pushed to your turret in a way that you lose experience or gold. You always want to push it out. There are certain situations where this is not possible. For example, if their bot lane is pushing and they're trying to do Baron, you need to be there. But I didn't need to be there to defend this turret. They could easily sit at the turret while I based and came there to help them, because the enemy team doesn't have that super strong minion clear, for example, and Ashe can clear out pretty well with the help of Katarina. So there was no immediate threat there, and at this point I tried to bait them out. Now you can see here, all of my team is standing right there. I have the GA. Even if they all jump on me and blow me up, I still come back and my team is gonna have to engage. Now Ashe gets the arrow onto Kennen, and I just go in here. I just want to keep going. Leona drops down. She still doesn't get ulti. She's not an important target. Yeah, my ulti is still up. I go back to Jayce because he's on Ashe. I pop the ulti onto Ashe because Ashe was really close to dying, and that would be bad, obviously. And then I just look to re-engage, get on there, carries again, and finally my GA pops under the turret and Katarina picks up a quadra kill. So all the damage that I took and all the damage that Ashe took, had she died, wouldn't have mattered because we would both still be in the fight. And while we were taking all this damage, while they were focusing their damage onto us because we were the available targets, we were the people they could attack while being as safe as possible, or at least that is the optimal way they could have done it. While they focused all the damage onto us, we had an available AP carry, an available carry in general, to keep damage onto them. And both of us, my ulti, had they jumped on Katarina, Ashe would have been able to just do consistent damage, and I could have ultied Katarina. And that is why Yorick is so strong, and that is why positioning is so important, because if you kill a person that doesn't die, for example Yorick with GA or someone with Yorick ulti, someone else is going to be hitting you that entire time, and you're not even going to kill the target you're hitting. So that is the reason why Yorick is so amazing, and that is the reason why GA is so amazing, because that leaves Yorick open to ulti anyone, and not just ulti himself if he gets focused. But anyway, I hope you were able to soak up all that information, and I hope you can use some of that information to your advantage in any games you play. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed the video, just feel free to leave a like. If you didn't enjoy the video, just leave a dislike, because that helps me just as much, so I don't really care. And if you have any questions, just feel free to post them in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to answer them as I answer all questions on all my videos at any point in time. So if you have any questions, just post it and I'll get back to you with an answer really quickly. So again, thanks for watching, and until next time, have a good day.